Are you in the 10% or are you in the 90%? Stay tuned. I'll explain.
From Philadelphia, the home of the Liberty Bell, Financial Freedom Radio starts now. Here's your host, Raymond Jewell.
Welcome, everybody, to financialfreedomradio.com. I want to thank you all for coming, downloading, playing, and telling your friends. And by the way, if you go to financialfreedomradio.com or youtube.com/financial freedom radio and subscribe to it and ring the bell, because then you'll get notified as every time we put up one of these videos. And we try to get it put up at least once a week, but sometimes it's a real stretch, isn't it, Stevie?
Yeah, sometimes it's we're recording this on Thursday, so it's going to be a hustle to get this done and up by Friday. So we may miss by a day or so here. We've been having some technical glitches that we're trying to work through, keeping the show running smooth. But we'll get there.
That's called a misfire.
Is that what they call it?
Misfire. We had a misfire.
We're also starting to be up on Rumble. I'm moving the show.
Yay!
Over. Yeah, we're making progress. It's a process. I have to move the shows from YouTube over to Rumble. Eventually, Rumble will be our permanent home, and we'll start syndicating to YouTube. But for right now, YouTube is the main place to find us. But go over to rumble.com and look for Financial Freedom Radio. Give us a subscribe over there, too. That's where we're going to stay, because I like them better. Sorry, I do.
We don't trust YouTube.
We like YouTube because they give us a platform, but we think Rumble will be a more powerful platform going forward in the future.
Right. All
right, I'm out. Good show.
Well, you've asked me, Steve, to talk about Financial Freedom Radio, and we talked about the freedoms that I felt were at risk, and we talked about how that many times when somebody tries to attack your freedoms, they're attacking your financial world, your financial freedoms. Well, let's talk about how we view the financial world. And I'm going to give you a simple statement. If 10% of the people in the world control 90% of the world's wealth, then this proves that the financial institutions, financial planners, and many accountants are wrong. Otherwise, the 90% would be in control of the wealth. And so what we do is we look for people in the 90% that want to move to the 10%, because we know that with our macroeconomic model, we can actually help them. And we can actually show them where they're losing revenue. We've also found in our analysis that most people are losing anywhere from 10 to 20% of their gross income or revenue to financial inefficiencies, and they don't even know it. I'm going to say that again. Most people are losing anywhere from 10 to 20% of their gross income or revenue to financial inefficiencies. And they don't even know it. If an individual's earning $100,000 a year, they're losing anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 a year, and they don't even know it. What would that do in your life if you could recapture those dollars and put those to growth? Would it make your retirement better? Would it make your lifestyle better? How would it affect your life? Most people say that it would be a game changer. And this is the amount of money that the financial institutions, the financial planners, and accountants are costing clients on an annual basis. And I've not met anyone that didn't want to recover those dollars. So it's important to look at it and understand where the costs and where the losses are. And we look for people, as I said, in the 90% that want to move to the 10%. Now, there's three vital things that we focus on in our macroeconomic coaching. We call this personal economic coach. And we focus on three things. Number one, a game board. It's imperative that you understand how to play this game, and we teach how to play it. because life is a game. And without a game board, you can't do anything. You can't play anything. Could you imagine trying to play Monopoly without a game board? So you need a game board. And without that game board, you're kind of screwed. And the financial institutions don't have a game board. The next is a rule book. If you didn't have a rule book, how could you play the game? It would be very hard because you'd have to figure it out, make it up, whatever you do. You need the game, the rule book to play the game. You need a game board and a rule book. And in addition to that, you need a macro manager. Why do you need a macro manager? Because when we purchase individual products from a financial person, we purchase them from different people. We go and we get car insurance from the car insurance guy. Maybe they'll sell us homeowners. Maybe they'll do a little liability. We get disability insurance from the disability guy. We get life insurance from the life insurance guy. We buy things. We get Roth IRAs from the Roth IRA guy. We get 401ks from the Roth IRA guy with a 401k guy. So we've got all these people coming into our lives to sell us something and to get our money. We don't know if they're all working together or not. A great analogy is you get all dressed up and you're going to the orchestra, you put on your black tie and you're all dressed up. You go out to dinner, you have a really nice dinner and you go in, you've got the best box in the world in the orchestra, in the seating area. And you're sitting down and in comes the orchestra. They're all wearing different clothes. They're sitting in different places. They're playing from different song sheets. There's no conductor, no orchestra leader. How awful would that be? It would be terrible because they couldn't make any music. It would sound ridiculous. And that's why you need the conductor. So what we are able to do is we were able to bring in a macro manager to work with our clients, and we're able to bring in the people and make sure that they're doing the right things for the client. Make sure that they are working in that client's best interest. I just talked to a client today where they had homeowners and their insurance guy had their homeowners down around $300,000 a year when the insurance companies from 3 quotes said the home was valued between $550,000 and $600,000. What would have happened had they had a fire? They bought that insurance. The rate was good because the value of the home was low. So if they ever had a fire or any problem with that house, the insurance company would pay up to that level, and then they'd have to sue somebody to get the rest. They weren't covered for it, and they didn't know it. And we fixed it. We're fixing it. So it's those things that without that macro manager, how do you know everybody's playing on the same song sheet? So what's important to understand when you look at financial planning and you look at what we do, you want to ask the questions. If you've ever worked with a financial planner, ask the question: did you do what they told you to do? Did they have any model or structure of what they told you? And were they able to verify what they said? See, models are important, and we build models of clients' financial world, and it's comprehensive. It covers everything. But models are important when large amounts of money are at stake, and when people are trying to navigate through their financial world, they're spending a lot of money and they're losing a lot of money. There's a lot of money at stake when you total it up and you look at it. And so you want to make sure that you understand what's right and what's not right. So if you go to an architect and you're building a building, he's going to build a model. If you go to an engineer and you're building a bridge, They're going to build a model. If you go to a shipbuilder and you want to build a ship, they're going to build a model first to make sure it doesn't sink. But in the financial world, there are no models built. The financial planners of the world, the financial institutions of the world, don't know how to build models. They're just selling product. And so we want to make sure that the client sees the model first and can see through simulation any problems that are going to occur down the road and how to fix them. It's important to understand that structure and models are necessary in your financial. Understanding the big picture is necessary in your financial world. And a lot of times people don't pay any attention to it. The last person they want to talk to really is somebody selling insurance. And why is that? Because it makes people uncomfortable. They don't want to think about death. They don't want to think about catastrophes. So they shun it. They ignore it. And they just give it a cursory look, buy it, and most of the time they're uninsured. So we want to make sure that everything is perfect. And when it's perfect and you can see the flaws before you make them and correct them, then you're on a positive footing to go through life. So we've talked about the flaws in the financial world. I've talked about your freedoms at risk before, and we talk about people that are coming at you to take away what you have, to take away your freedoms, to take away your money. The financial institutions are notorious for this, and it's not a bad thing if you're a financial institution. Financial institutions want to get your money. They want to get it on a systematic and ongoing basis. They want to hang on to it for as long as possible and give it back as little as possible. We've talked about that. We've talked about that in past shows. If they violate those rules, they're out of business. A financial planner operates under those 4 rules. They come in and they got to get your money, and they got to get it on a systematic and ongoing basis and hang on to it for as long as possible and give it back as little as possible. So they're going to say whatever they can to get you to give them your money. We don't do that. We show you where the problems are. If you want to continue down that course and run into those problems and lose, that's fine. Almost every client we take through this process says, I want to fix it. But we're not trying to sell anything. We're simply showing, and through the power of discovery, you are able to see the difference and decide to fix it. I think Steve, didn't we talk about one time a while ago that people have to discover? Was it?
We talked
Were
about
we
people.
talking about that?
Well, I think what you're
People
referencing.
have to.
I think what you're referencing is that people don't like to be told. They like to learn, and they like to figure things out on their own. I think that's what you're.
Yeah, and I'd
referring
like to add something to that too. They don't like to be sold.
They don't like to be told. They don't like to be sold.
Right.
You know, you could.
Right.
I'll add to that. They don't like to be sold, but they do like to buy.
Oh yeah. Sure. They call that consumption.
Yeah, I mean, it really does come down to that, right? People, and unfortunately, this is one of those things where people learn the hard way after it's too late, and shoulda, coulda, woulda, and that's why what you do is so valuable, because you're showing people up front, and they either choose to pay attention or they don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's financial guys out there. I see them all over the internet, Steve. I mean, Dave Ramsey. I mean, how many people has this guy hurt with his he's pushing product. If you look at what he says, he's got it. The 4 rules are alive and well with him. Got to get your money, get it on a systematic and ongoing basis, hang on to it for as long as possible, and give it back as little as possible. And that's everything he does. He doesn't say, I'm going to show you how you can recover cost at no cost to you. He
Now, you and
doesn't
I are going to
say,
go. You and I are going to have a throwdown on this because I think Dave Ramsey adds a lot of value. I think that a lot of what you
well, I
say
know
is
you do.
true, but I think he does add a lot of value to people. I would not be where I am today without the teachings of Dave Ramsey. Now, that being said, there are two types of people: those who use what Dave says and just blindly follow his path, and those that use that as a foundation to do their own learning and implement their own path. And I don't think you should blindly follow what Dave Ramsey says, but I think that you should be inspired by what he teaches and find a way to implement it. Take the good without the bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that, because if you don't know how much a process is costing you, then you're flying blind. And so we go in behind guys like that, and we show the clients where they're losing massive amounts of money and they don't even know it. And so when people don't understand macroeconomic thinking, then then they're losing. And they're
Yeah,
not
but
going to
but
understand that, because many financial planners will not tell that to you.
but again, this comes back to a difference in philosophy. You're dealing with, so like you said, you're dealing with the 90% that want to move into the 10%. I'm saying that there's a large chunk of the 90%. One of the things Dave Ramsey teaches is debt elimination and debt consolidation. But there are some good debt that you should be keeping, and there's some that you shouldn't be keeping. But the net result is, because of Dave Ramsey, I've eliminated a lot of debt from my life. Now you're talking about, you're not talking about the debt elimination. You're talking about the finding inefficiencies part of it. And yes, he does push product, and that's not the part that I advocate. But I do advocate his teachings when it comes to how to eliminate debt, bad debt, effectively.
Well, we're not going to get down to, we're going to agree to disagree. I've not seen clients that have followed these strategies that they put forth and have won. So
Maybe not one,
that's
but
my
better off
background.
than they were. I'm one of them.
Well, I guess you could safely say that. If you're doing nothing and you follow what they say, you're going to be better off than if you continue doing nothing. And
Correct.
that's why we're making these shows, because we want to make sure that people understand there's another way. There's a better way to do it, and understand it, and not have to rely on these so-called gurus out there giving out bad information.
In the IT world,
So,
we call it tactical and strategic. Okay. Tactical advice and strategic advice. The tactical advice is stop spending money you don't have. Start identifying places where you're spending money you should not be spending money, and stop it. It's the Bob Newhart. Stop it. And then you're talking more of a strategic long-term view, in that, okay, now that you've stopped doing bad things, let's look at the other side of the coin and find ways that not only can you stop spending money that you shouldn't be spending, but you can start recovering some money that you can easily recover. So you're doing more of a strategic planning, and Ramsey, at least the part that I pay attention to, is more of a tactical strategy approach.
yeah. Wow. To answer your question, if you're not doing anything, he's better than nothing.
Okay,
Now,
we'll
there's
agree
going to
on
be
that part.
people out there listening. There's people out there listening to this that like him, and they may not want to hear what I have to say. And if you're following these guys, they're better than nothing. Don't get me wrong, but when you start to realize where you're losing and how to recover it, it opens a whole new world for you. So
Agreed.
the purpose of this show, the takeaway, is to understand that when you think macro and understand the personal economics of macro thinking, then you will actually be prepared to understand models and how to build them. And you want to build a model of your financial world and see it before it happens. because once you see it, a whole new world opens up. Now, how do you do that? Well, if you want to shoot us not an email, but we have a website, raymondjewell.com/meet. Just put your name in there and your phone number and an email address if you have it, and we'll make sure somebody gets in contact with you and to guide you further. And that'll help you if you really have an interest.
I mean,
So I want to thank you all for
the real takeaway here, Ray. You know, that's a bigger takeaway. The real takeaway that I've gotten from this episode is that if you're in the 90%, you have to make the decision: do you want to be in the 10%? There's some people who are very happy being plugged into the matrix and living their life day to day. You know, there was this thing that I read one time that, you know, of the people who want, you know, there's only like 7% of the people want to go from 90% to 10%. So the takeaway here is, you know, do you want to be in that position where you're changing things? And if you do, then you need to reach out to Ray and his team. And I'll put the little thing back up there again. But that's really the takeaway is here. If you're in the 90% and you want to be in the 10%, it can be done. And Ray and his folks can help you do that. I'll shut up now.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming and downloading and watching the show. We're blessed that you're here. FinancialFreedomRadio.com. Tell your friends, and we'll see you back here next week. Take care. God bless.
Thanks for listening. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast. If you want to learn how to create real sustainable wealth like the extremely rich people do, or maybe you just want to sustain the wealth you already have, you need to check out Dr. Ray's new book, Why the Rich Are Rich. Ray's been coaching clients for 35 years and has completely unlocked the secret strategies that rich people use day in and day out to grow and sustain their wealth, regardless of what's going on in the economy. His book is completely free, and you can get it by going to whythericharerich.com and entering your email address. Again, that's whythericharerich.com. Head over there now.